Here are the facts. We African Americans did not make the N-word ours, and using it does not empower us. Those who believe we made it ours and that it empowers us does so because they are ignorant. Whenever people are ignorant, they'll always believe nonsense. Our core problem is that the ignorant ones are ignorant of their own ignorance, and they're overconfident within their state of ignorance. This has caused the intelligent ones to remain silent. But when the intelligent ones allows ignorance to go unchecked, we're in fact allowing the white oppressors constructed structural stupidity of our culture to continue and remain normalized. Structural cultural stupidity is an offensive psychological warfare tactic that uses misinformation and deception as a weapon to change people's behavior and beliefs in ways that contradicts how they would usually behave in opposition to their own values. It can even change a targeted population to think and behave collectively in ways that insults their own intelligence. Here's how you create cultural stupidity among a targeted population. First, you strip a targeted population of their true history, culture, and knowledge of themselves. Then you systematically feed idiotic ideologies into their communities. You then provide a nationwide media platform to the ignorant ones among the targeted populations that have accepted the idiotic ideologies. And you deny it from the intelligent ones that reject the idiotic ideologies. This elevates and allows the idiotic ideologies to prevail amongst the targeted population above the critiques and objections being made by the intelligent ones. This allows the idiotic ideologies to prevail throughout the culture and becoming normalized, thus further emboldening the ignorant ones and further silencing the intelligent ones, thus creating structural cultural stupidity among a targeted population. This is precisely what white oppressive forces have done to the African American culture. After having stripped us of our true culture and identity, they've spread lots of idiotic ideologies into the Black community. They then provided national media platforms to those Black people that have accepted the idiotic ideologies and denied it from the intelligent critiques of the idiotic ideologies. This is the true reason why millions of African Americans now call themselves niggers, thugs, bitches, and hoes, sags their pants, glorifies pimps. This isn't scapegoating. It's the damn truth that most people don't understand. What millions of African Americans naively perceive as being our own swagger are actually testaments of the immense power of negative social engineering by white oppressive forces. Whoever controls a people's media images controls their culture. Most people naively believe that the media reflects our reality, but in truth, it is more often we that imitate what we see and learn from the media. A group's identity is shaped by how they repeatedly see themselves depicted within the media. People often becomes those derogatory media caricatures of themselves that they've accepted as being their reality. Therefore, those who are controlling their media images are able to control them and steer their culture. And because we African Americans were stripped of our true identity and culture during slavery, we are therefore more susceptible to negative media social engineering. And because the white society are controlling our image of African Americans, this fact allows white social scientists and white propaganda designers to negatively steer the Black culture. Their ability to steer the Black culture through media social engineering is immensely powerful. So much, in fact, that if white oppressive forces wanted African Americans to start walking around daily with a yellow Afro comb in our back left rear pocket, all they would have to do is place that described image in several rap music videos, movies, and TV shows being depicted as cool and trendy. In doing so, millions of our Black youths will then see the image and start adopt it as their own and imitate it and start doing the same thing, making it their own and insisting that we made it our own image, but it's actually not. The style and behavior was actually a learned behavior that was imitated what we repeatedly saw in the media. Media social engineering is not a silly conspiracy theory. It is a well-proven hidden social science that the ruling elites utilizes to socially engineer society in ways that meets their objective. This is the hidden reality that we need to wake up to. When these white social engineering scientists and white propaganda designers create trends and customs for black youths to imitate, they deliberately create those that gets our black youths acting and dressing as a caricatures that reinforces resentment and anti-black prejudicial perceptions. Moreover, those images that reinforces many negative and racist stereotypes about black people. Black youth becomes the caricatures of the derogatory images and stereotypes that they have accepted. The African American culture is being negatively steered by white oppressive forces. Case in point, black sagging is the result of negative media social engineering. Some African Americans insist that sagging started with slavery. This is untrue. If that was the case, the style had been prevalent throughout many of the years following slavery. It was not. The style didn't exist on a national scale until the early 1990s. Furthermore, if slaves were sagging, this would have severely reduced their ability to pick cotton, because you couldn't pick a lot of cotton with your pants sagging. Come on. Also, the white enslavers would never allow a slave to walk around sagging with the possibility of his wife or his daughters seeing the private parts of the slave. So that's an idiotic ideology. So when you critically think and observe all facts, it becomes clear that sagging did not come from slavery. It has nothing to do with butt breaking. That's idiotic ideology. The sagging phenomenon is not the result of the prison industry, where most prisons have a heavily enforced dress code requiring prisoners to wear Velcro belt fasteners. Furthermore, if men engage in homosexual behavior while incarcerated, most do not return back to their communities and families flaunting that fact. Most will conceal any customs or behaviors associated with the practice. You know, when people are ignorant, they believe nonsense. It has nothing to do with the prison industry. That's a bullcrap narrative. Furthermore, the prison to the street theory is not how national trends are created. For something to become a trend requires concerted effort of media marketing. The style of sagging was deliberately achieved through white negative social engineering of the African American culture. It was placed in rap videos. It was placed in movies. It was made to look cool and trendy. And then millions of our black youths imitated the style and saying, this is how we dress. This is not some feeble-minded attempt at scapegoating that wrongly blames white people in order to absolve ourselves of our own responsibilities. It's the absolute truth. They're waging a covert war against the African American culture that most of us don't understand. We are clueless of this. And the reason why we remain clueless of this is because our enemies control the narrative. They control the information that we receive. Their monopoly over information is how they keep us ignorant of these facts. Now, the nigger programming, okay? The narrative that we African Americans made the N-word ours and that using it now empowers us. These are lies created by propagandists and were spread into our community. And we repeat it, ignorant. Those false narratives are believed and repeated by those of us that are ignorant, naive, and gullible. This group is always the easiest victim of the white oppressors' fraudulent propaganda campaigns. The true reason why millions of African Americans now self-identify themselves as niggers is actually also a true testament of the immense power of white negative media social engineering. It was actually white oppressive forces that socially engineered us to self-identify ourselves as niggers through their control over our media images. Because they control our media images, they're able to covertly, negatively steer the black culture. By socializing us to self-identify ourselves as niggers, they've conditioned us to perceive ourselves through a false, inferior, and marginalized identity that aids them in maintaining their social dominance over us. Now, while black fans often revere black rappers because of their talents, wealth, and fame, the ruling white elites that actually run the music industry, however, secretly perceive black rappers as being useful idiots. In addition to making lots of money by exploiting their talents, They also exploit their ignorance by misusing them to turn the African American culture upside down. And everything they've done to us, we've accepted, rationalized, and normalized. All of it, regardless of how degrading and outlandish ridiculous it has been. Most specifically, they misuse rappers to marginalize our culture, denigrate our culture, divide our culture. And they've used them to shift black collective aggressions away from the white society and redirect it against ourselves. This is why the music is always about black man killing black man killing black man. It shifts our collective aggressions from the white society and redirects towards ourselves. While white oppressive forces are playing fast-moving chess, the black masses are playing slow-moving checkers. And we're therefore clueless of the war that's being waged against us. Therefore, we dance and jubilee and while our culture is being turned upside down and we're being turned against ourselves through negative social engineering. The ignorance of the oppressed is always the oppressor's greatest weapon. Now, although the nigger programming is now routinely deployed through the hip-hop music industry, that industry merely reinforces an earlier programming. The nigger indoctrination programming was originally infused into the black community many decades ago, long before the hip-hop industry was even created. It was originally done so using the movie industry. It was originally through black exploitation films beginning during the late 1960s that white oppressive forces socially engineered African Americans' culture away from the Black Pride movement, where in which we call ourselves brothers and sisters and we were more unified, to now calling ourselves niggas and bitches and we're more divided. You know, most people think that movies are made for nothing more than entertainment. That has never been the case. The greatest social messages are promoted through movies. Social norms promoted through films can influence the way of thinking and the cognitive map of a targeted audience. In a normal conversation, when you're using logic and facts, your guard is naturally up. But when you're watching a movie, there's no debate. Your guard is down. The senses part of your brain is not an action. It isn't saying, yes, I agree with this or I disagree with that, like you would in a conversation or debate. You're in fact, you're actually in an alpha state, being completely open and downloaded with ideas and images. It was this programming that was first used to socially engineer African Americans to self-identify ourselves as niggers, to call ourselves bad, to also used to make black men call their women mamas and to call their homes cribs. Millions accepted and normalized these juvenile behaviors that were actually designed to condition us to function below our fullest potential. Black exploitation is a term coined in the early 1970s to refer to the black films that were aimed at a black audience, featuring African-American actors in lead roles. The films frequently depicted stereotypical characterizations of African-Americans. It was that era's black exploitation films that first began the negative social engineering of our culture. Our black youths, we flocked to those films because before then, we were never seen on the big screen in leading roles. So we rushed to those, and we adopted what we saw on the screen. So while we were seeing for the first time black people in leading role, they also used it to embed negative things within our culture because we imitated what we saw on the screen. We became those caricatures. I'll give you an example. A young black man, the year 1969. He goes to the movies, and in the movies, black people call themselves niggers. So he comes home, he starts saying nigger. His grandmother gets angry at him, and he says, Grandmama, no, Grandmama, that's our word. We call ourselves niggers. The grandmother is angry because she was old enough to know the history behind the word, and she knows an ugly word. But the youth, because he saw it on the screen, he's telling his grandmama, that's our word. We made it our word. But he is ignorant. He was actually imitating what he saw on the screen. This is how the white society negatively steers our culture. Ignorant. When black men say, this is our style. It's not our style. Our culture is being negatively steered. I'll give you an example of it. You know when you see black women doing this? All they did was put in several movies, have black women do it, and all of a sudden you see black women arguing, they start doing the same thing, imitating what they see. We become the caricatures. We become the caricatures that we accept as being our reality. Even Ebonics is not African American. Ebonics is created by those who controls our culture, who controls our narratives. And we become their depictions of us. If you believe that articulation doesn't belong to black people, they brainwashed you. It is time to wake up to our reality. They're waging a war and they're kicking our asses and we're dancing around like fools. It's time to wake up to our reality.